have to follow that I will be telling when we meet in the offline class. But before we start with this academic session, let me tell you one thing, okay? See, biology, this year you have, quite a number of chapters. You have something like, 18 to 19 chapters here. And if you see the pattern, we follow the 10 standard board paper pattern. If you see that one, like you don't have lengthy answers here. Okay. There are no questions where you have to write paragraph wise answers or anything like that. Everything, even in section B, which is supposed to be subjective, you have objective kind of questions. Either it's going to be a one word answer, or it is going to be a one line answer, or it is going to be a two lines. And ninth standard B sections, you have to excuse me here because I'm repeating. I've already told you all these things, but I'm repeating the same thing because this is my first class for the A and the C section students. Okay, please excuse me, B section. Listen for another time so it will go into your mind more clearly. Trying to make your own notes, and we are going to help you in this. Now, first thing what I want to do, how you were learning biology in the previous classes, I'm not interested in that one. How you are going to learn with me is important for me. So first suggestion that I give you is that always, whenever you have my class, whether it is online or whether it is offline, keep one notebook in front of you. You already probably have assigned a book for biology, right? Keep that notebook in front of you. Okay. And here I am going to use the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to use the whiteboard also. So I'll be just like how in an offline, I will be writing a few things using the whiteboard also. When I'm explaining something also, I will be telling. So whatever whenever I am explaining something, try to write down that one. Okay, write down whatever I'm telling. And also I'll be telling you what are the important questions that can be asked and how they can be asked. So please make a note of that. That is going to be very helpful when you're preparing for your test and when you're preparing for your exam. And more than learning like question and answers, you understanding the concept of the lesson is very, very important. Now if you have to understand the concept, you'll be able to answer anything however it is going to be asked. To understand the concept, your mind should not get diverted. If you're just sitting and listening to me, 5 minutes you may listen to me. After 5 minutes, what happens? Your mind will drift away to something else. You're automatically, the mind it gets, deviated. It gets distracted. So how do you put your mind back? By writing. When you are writing, what happens is you are forced to concentrate on what is being taught. So, you will be not distracted. Even if you get distracted, okay, ma'am has told something, at least you'll ask me back, you'll come back to, the current scenario. So, first thing, if you haven't got your notebook, I'll just give you a few seconds, pick up your notebook, come and, sit in front of the screen. So, we are going to start with the chapter. Now, the first chapter is an introductory biology chapter, dear students. That is not there for the syllabus. Okay, it is just scope and branches for general information only. I'm definitely going to do this, but not today. We have a lot of portions to complete. Okay, sometime when we have completed one of the days, I will just give a brief explanation of the introductory chapter where you have what is the scope of biology and what is that. But one of the days when we are a little bit completed or something with the portions, I'll definitely take that one. But as of today, we will start with the second. That is going to be your second chapter. Okay, unit 1, basic biology. Under that, cell, the unit of life. So I hope by now all of you have got your writing book in front of you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And be
Yes, ma'am.
interactive. Yeah, please be interactive. You did not understand anything. I will ask you when I teach a particular part of the lesson. At the end, I'll ask you, did you understand? In case you did not understand, you are free to ask me to explain again. I'm here to do it for you. Okay. So let me just share my screen. You just let me know if you're able to see the screen. Okay. Are you able to see?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Cell, the unit of life. Now let us start. Let me just go to the whiteboard. You're able to see the whiteboard, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Oh, cell, the unit of life. Okay. Now let us learn what is a cell. Can anyone tell me what's a cell?
Cell is the
The
structural
structural and functional
That's
unit of the human.
fundamental
Yeah,
structure and basic unit of life.
yeah, yeah. Structural and functional unit of life, right? This is the definition of a cell. It is the structural and functional unit of life. Now, what do we mean by this? Okay, what is life? Life refers to a living organism. Okay, a living organism, how it, interacts with the environment, right? So, life refers to a living organism. Now, when do you call an object has a living organism? For you to call something, uh, children, if you're raising your hand, I will ask you because I'm not able to see when you're raising your hand when I'm teaching you. Orally, I will ask you, one of you can unmute yourselves and you can answer. Okay. Now, B section students, I know you have learned this. This is a repetition. So you can just listen. Okay. Yeah. Now, when do you call an object has a living organism? For us to call something as a living organism, it has to have few characteristic features. Okay. Now, what are these characteristic features? They are composed of small components which we call as cells. Okay. Every organism, every living organism is made from cells. Okay. So this is the first characteristic feature. Now, second characteristic feature, every living organism needs energy for functioning and energy for survival. Okay. So living organism. So if you want to call something as a living organism, that object needs energy. Now, where does the energy come from? The energy comes from the food that the organism takes in. So, why do we eat food? We eat food mainly for the source of energy. There are different functions of food. One of the functions is for energy, and the other one is the requirement of oxygen. Food and oxygen, when they combine together, they release energy in the body. Okay. So how oxygen? It is present in the atmosphere. We take in oxygen and waste. We give out carbon dioxide, right? So what happens to this oxygen which is taken into your cells? It combines with food to release energy, and this energy is needed for the survival of organisms. Okay. Then living organisms, they show movement or they show locomotion. Okay. Now, Moving from one place to another is locomotion. Plants show movement, but they do not. So, what's the difference between locomotion and movement? Now, there is one organism here. It is in this position. Now, it has shifted, the entire body has shifted from here to here, right? The entire body has shifted its position. Now, this is called locomotion. Okay. Now, let us say there is an organism, a part of the body. Now, the hand is down, right? Now, the organism is in the same location, but what has happened to one part of the organism? It has shifted its position. This is called movement. The body is at rest. A part of the organism has changed its position. Now, this is called as movement. So, for an organism to call as living, okay, or having life, it should be capable of either movement or locomotion, okay. And then, yeah, how is energy got? By a process called as respiration, okay. And then every living organism excretes. Excretion. What is excretion? When it takes in different kind of nutrients. Okay, these nutrients undergo certain chemical reactions. In the body, some chemical reactions are taking place and some products are produced which are no longer useful for the human body. In fact, if they remain inside the body, they are harmful. So they have to be excreted out. So excretory process is another characteristic feature of a living organism. And then they need to reproduce. Every organism wants its generation to continue. Okay, so every organism gives birth to young ones of its own kind. It can be a single celled organism or it can be a multicellular organism. So, reproduction. Okay, and then lifespan. Every organism has got a certain lifespan. There is no organism which you can call it as it is immortal. There is no death at all, right? Every organism has got a lifespan. Now, if single celled organism also has got a lifespan, okay, and you multicellular organisms also. Now, if we say about we humans, we say average, we say about 100 years. There are people who are living above 100 years. There are people who have died before 100 years. So we say average life of a human being is 100 years. Average life of a dog, we say somewhere between, it depends on the breed of the dog, so between 10 to, there are dogs which live up to 16 to 18 years, right? So dogs have a different lifespan, cats have a different lifespan. Every organism has a lifespan, right? So these are all the characteristic features. So for example, if I tell you, compare, I'll tell you, take a stone and you take let us say you take a rat. Okay. Now, if you see all these features, you will see that the rat has all these characteristic features. The stone doesn't have these features, right? So to call an object as a living organism, they should have these features. Okay, so what is it in the organism which performs all these functions? It is the cell. That's why we say cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Okay, structure. It gives a certain structure to the organism. Okay, if you take human body, in the head we have the brain. Brain is a particular structure. What is the brain made up of? It is made up of cells. Okay, tissues are made up of cells. Ultimately, they are cells. You take your hand, it has got bone, it has got muscles. What are they made up of? Cells. So if you see, the brain has a certain structure which is made up of cells, the muscles have a different structure, right? So how an organism looks like, that structure is given by the cell. And functional unit of life, whatever functions, what these are all the functions, whatever functions an organism performs, that is because of the cells. Okay, so that is why we define the cell as structural and functional unit of life. Just a minute. Okay. So this is the definition of a cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Okay. Now, can we see these cells through the naked eye? Can we see them?
No.
No, ma'am.
No.
No. Why you cannot see them? Now, why
Because
you
It's
cannot
very
see them?
small.
They are very small in
And
size.
extremely small.
They are very small
They are
in size.
microscopic inside.
They are microscopic, right? They are very small in size. They are microscopic, right? Now, for example, let us say, now there is now you let us take a small animal. Let us take a rat, okay? And then let us take an elephant. Size wise, you see the size of the rat and size of the elephant, or you can take a giraffe, right? Now, size wise, totally, the rat is a very small animal, the elephant is a very huge animal, right? Now, do you mean to say the cell of the rat is very small and the cell of elephant is very, very big?
No, ma'am.
Because
No,
the
no,
very,
ma'am. No, ma'am.
No,
no,
it
no,
won't
ma'am.
vary in size.
It's the
yes.
number of
It's just
cells.
the amount.
Yes, yes. So the number, the size remains the same, but rat will have comparatively less number of cells and elephants have more. Had the cell of an elephant been so large, then we would have been able to see it under, we could have been seen the cell through the naked eye, right? So doesn't mean that. So the cells of a rat is less when compared to the cells of an elephant. So all cells are small. Now, why they're small in size, we will come to it a bit later. So we learned now that the cells are very, very microscopic. That means they cannot be seen through the naked eye. So how can we see the cell? Supposing we want to see the cell, we have to see the cells under a microscope. Micro, minute. Okay. Someone please mute your mic. Someone has, okay, it is disturbing. Thank you, children. Scope, instrument. Instrument to see minute objects is a microscope. Okay. Now, life on this earth, when life began on this earth, life began as a single cell. Then slowly there was, transformation happening. And today you see the different kinds of organisms that are there, right? So, minute objects, organisms were there. Single celled bacteria and all were there. Because even life started from the single celled organisms. But when did we come to know the existence of, objects, minute objects? Only when the first microscope was invented. Now, let me just go to the whiteboard. Okay. Okay. So when the first microscope was invented, then only we came to know about the existence of minute organisms, or we could see minute objects. Okay. Someone has unmuted their mic. Okay. Now, who was the first person to, discover invent the microscope? A Dutch scientist. Basically, he was a lens grinder. He used to grind glass and he had a hobby of making different kind of lens. Okay, what is lens? Lens is an object which is used to magnify, objects, right? So it is made from powdered or grounded glass, and we use the lens for magnifying the objects. Objects look bigger. Now, if we are not able to, if we are having any, we are having any problem in vision, right? Some of us are not able to see far off objects. Some are not able to see nearby objects. We use spectacles, right? What does this spectacles have? It has a lens. According to what is the the power that this one you have, your lens, the doctor makes the prescribes the lens, and we use it, right? So it magnifies the object. So he had a hobby. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, he was a Dutch, person. He was basically, he had an hobby to make different kinds of lenses and view under it. So that's how Antony van Leeuwenhoek, he was the first person who invented the microscope. Now, this is the first microscope that Antony van Leeuwenhoek invented. Okay, this is the microscope of Antony van Leeuwenhoek. We call this as a simple microscope. Okay, this is called, so you can see it's just a brass plate like of thing, okay, which is flat. And then you have here, this is a place where you keep the object, whatever specimen you want to see, you keep it here. And here is the lens, okay? So you hold it in front of your eye like this at either side. You're viewing from the either side. And here this, stand where you keep the object is fitted with a screw. When you turn this, the stand comes up and down. Okay, this is moved up and down. So to in the line of the object, so view it. Understand? So this is a very, very basic kind of microscope that Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Keep the specimen here, turn the screw, it comes up, and opposite side. Through your eye, view it. So the magnification was, if the object which was placed over here looked 200 times bigger. So the magnification of this, we say, was about 200 times bigger. Okay. But this much magnification was not enough to see cells under the microscope. So you can view what you can take a flower, you can dissect a flower, and you can. So simple microscope has got only one lens over here. So magnification is 200 times in this. So you could see some parts of the plant and parts of the animal. You could just basically view them. That's what, simple microscopes. While dissections, when dissections of smaller animals are being done and all that, they use the simple microscope. Then when Antony van Leeuwenhoek discovered, invented the microscope, see, when anyone tries to invent something, there are people who are curious about it. They will try to find, they will try to find faults with the instrument. Some people will try to improvise upon it. So when Antony van Leeuwenhoek, invented his microscope, there were many others, okay, who tried to improvise upon it. Okay. So one such person was an English, biologist by the name Robert Hooke. Now he improvised, okay, he improved Antony van Leeuwenhoek's microscope, and this is called the Robert Hooke's. This is the image of Robert Hooke's microscope. Now, if you see here, this one, this is a place where this is the eyepiece where you put your eye and see. There is one lens. So he used two lenses over here. Okay, this is one lens, and there was a hollow draw tube. At the tip of it, there is another lens over here. So the objective, when two lenses, when you use, the magnification is doubled. So in the previous one, if it was 200 times magnification, one lens here magnifies it 200 times. Another lens magnifies it another 200 times. So 400 times magnification. Then there was a stand here to keep the object. Okay. And since the eye, there was a double magnification. So this object, the light, was supposed to fall on the object to view the object clearly, for which he used an oil lamp. Okay. So he placed an oil lamp and he placed a water flask, a concave, for a concave mirror kind of thing. And then the light from the oil lamp fell on the object to view the object. This is also a very primitive microscope. So this microscope we refer today as Robert Hooke's microscope. Then, everyone started, seeing different objects, whether it is non-living or living objects. Okay. Then Robert Hooke, was the one for the first person who saw cells under the microscope. Okay. And he was the first person to coin the word, okay, cell. Now, what he did was one time he took a piece of cork. Cork is nothing but it is the woody bark of the trunk of a tree, right? So he took a slice of cork, and when he viewed it under the microscope, okay, he viewed it under the microscope. He saw honeycomb like structure. All of you have seen how an honeycomb is. It has small closed compartments, right? So he saw a honeycomb like structure. Okay. So in that time, most of the scientific terms and all, when you see, they're all derived from Greek and Latin. So the word cella, cella, cella means compartments. Okay. So he derived from the word cella, he derived it and called these small compartments had cells. Okay. So the word cell was first coined by Robert Hooke. But the magnification was very low over here, about 400 times, right? Then many other people, they modified it. And today, this is called as the compound microscope. In our school also, we have the compound microscope. So probably one of the days we will go and try to view certain specimens under the compound microscope. Okay. So this is called as the compound microscope. This is improvised, much improvised version of the Robert Hooke's microscope here. Now, here if you see, you have the lens over. Again, two lenses there. Now, here is the eyepiece we call. There is one lens. Magnification is about 10 times over here. And here you have to this, you have different lenses can be fitted of different magnifications here. Okay. There is the stage on which you keep the slide and you keep the specimen. Okay. And then you have the concave mirror here. Okay, you have the mirror over here, and light from the light, sunlight, or you can take light. You can take even the normal light in the room also. So you focus it; it will fall on the specimen, and then it is used to view the objects. Okay, this is called as a compound microscope. And the magnification in a compound microscope is 1,000 to 2,000 times. Okay, the maximum magnification. So if you keep some object over here, it looks 2,000 times bigger. Now, what are the things that we can see? We can see cells under the microscope. You can see bacteria. You can see amoeba, protozoans. You can see algae. You can see fungi. You can see plant cell. You can see animal cell also under the microscope. But what you can see the shape. You cannot see what is inside. You cannot see the organelles. Specifically, what are the different parts present inside the cell? You cannot see them. You can basically see them as a shape, and you can probably see the nucleus as a rounded object. You can see that one. But other than that, in depth, what is present inside a cell, you cannot see under the compound microscope. So if you have to see in depth what is present inside the cell, if you want to see what is inside the nucleus, if you want to see how is a Golgi body, how is a mitochondria, there are different parts, organelles inside the cell. So if you want to see the detailed structure of the cell, you cannot see it under a compound microscope. You need much higher magnification. Okay. And then when you look at the different kinds of organisms, okay, so the smallest of the organisms are what we call as viruses. Okay. Now, amongst living organisms, we say bacteria are the smallest. Viruses, they come under microorganisms. They are somewhere, we say they are between living and non-living. They are not completely living. They are somewhere, between living and non-living. Now, why do we call this? So we call the viruses as a separate entity only. Okay. Why? Why do we call them as something between living and non-living? These living organisms, they need a host to divide. If they want to, produce copies of themselves for their survival, they need a host cell. Okay. So these viruses, now let us say this is a host cell. This is one of the host cells. Now, this virus, if it is outside the body of a host cell, it is like a non-living object. It is inactive. It is like a non-living object. The moment it comes, the virus comes in contact with the host cell, it will enter into the host cell. It will make copies of itself. Okay, so viruses are a different entity. They are the smallest known organisms, you can say. You cannot see viruses under the compound microscope. You can say bacteria. You can see it whether it is spherical, whether it is rod shape, whether it is spiral. You can see the shape of the bacteria, but you cannot see what is inside the bacteria, for which you need a higher magnification. Viruses cannot be seen through a compound microscope. Okay, and cell organelles cannot be seen through a compound microscope. They need to be seen only under a electron microscope. Now this is an electron microscope. So look at it is huge. You can tell it is about, a quarter of a room. It occupies a quarter of a room. It is a huge microscope. This magnification here is about 2 lakh times. Now, the magnification in a compound microscope is 2000 times, right? Here, the magnification is about 2 lakh times. That's the reason. So, you can imagine how small the viruses are. Okay. So, they can be seen through an electron microscope. Now, what is the difference, in between the compound and electron microscope? There is a lot of difference. I'm only going to the basics over here. Okay. Now, to view the object, light needs to be bent. Okay. And it has to fall on the object, right? So here, light is used to view the object here. And in a compound microscope, the electron microscope uses beam of electrons. There's a bombardment of electrons bent by magnets to view the object. Okay, so that is the basic difference. Another difference is the magnification is about 2 lakh times. So there's a place where you keep the specimen. Okay, the place where you keep the specimen, and then this is connected to a monitor, a computer monitor. So the magnification of the object can be seen through the monitor. It shows you the magnified object. Okay, so viruses, cell organelles, they can be seen only through an electron microscope. So these are about the microscopes which are used, to about the cells. Now, I hope you understood this much.
Yes, ma'am.
This much is clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So can we go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
yes. Now, before we go ahead, now quickly, who invented the microscope?
Anthony von
Anthony van Leeuwenhoek.
Yeah. Now,
Anthony von
yes. Now, who coined the word cell?
Robert.
Robert Hooke.
Robert. Yes. Robert Hooke. What is the specimen he used for viewing the first cell?
Cork cells. Cork cells.
Cork cell. Yeah, he slice of cork. Very good. He used a slice of cork, right? What is the magnification in a compound microscope? Maximum magnification. 2000 times. I'm sorry, students, some of you are raising your hand. Since I'm not able to see everyone on my screen, so I'm openly giving you the option to, unmute yourselves and answer. Okay. And then, what is the magnification in an electron microscope? 2 lakh times. Yeah. Yeah. Supposing you want to see an organelle of a cell, part of a cell. So, which microscope can you see? Electron microscope. Yes. Yes, very good. Okay. So now, shall we go ahead to the next part?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Ma'am.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when the microscope was invented, right? And then Robert Hooke came up with the word cell. Now, everyone were curious. They started seeing different objects under the microscope, and anything which had compartments, they started calling it as cells. Okay. Whichever had compartment like structures, they started, okay, this is cell, this is cell, this is cell. Okay. Then three German scientists, okay, three German scientists along with, because Robert Hooke coined the word cell, right? And everyone started calling compartmental structures as cells. Then three German scientists, they came out, okay, they came out with a set of postulates called as the cell theory. Who are they? Matthias Schleiden, Theodor Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow. Okay, these are three German, scientists. Those three of them together, okay, they came out with what is called as cell theory. What is cell theory? It is a set of postulates. What is a postulate? Postulate is nothing but it is a statement. Okay, it is a statement which has been proved. Now, they came out with the postulates. Now, what does the cell theory, what does the cell theory state? Now, basically, the cell theory has got three, main statements over here, three major points here. Okay. The first one is the cell is the smallest unit of structure of all living organism. Okay. Structural unit of life. Cell is the structural unit of life. So, what does it mean? Now, if you take any part of an organism, okay, and you view it under the microscope, it will show the cells. For example, you take the skin. You take a thin slice of the skin and see it under the microscope. So you will see compartmental structures inside, right? So the structural unit of life. Then second one is the cell is the functional unit of life. Okay. Any function which is happening in the body is mainly because of the function. For example, let us take. Now you take food, right? When you eat your food, you chew your food, right? When you chew your food, what happens? You're grinding it, and let us say you'll swallow it into your stomach. Now, in your stomach, the food has to be broken down, for which certain, okay, gastric juice, digestive juice has to be liberated. Now, what is it that is liberating this digestive juices? The cells which are lining the stomach. So from that is where the enzymes are coming out, right? So digestion cannot happen without the cells. Now you want to move from one place to another. What is responsible for movement? Muscles. Okay. So muscles help you in movement, help in locomotion and movement. Now what are the muscle cells composed of? They are composed of cells. Now, supposing you want to learn something, right? You're concentrating on something. Now, which cells in your body are involved? Your organ brain is involved. And what does brain contain? It is made up of nerve cells, right? So, any function that is happening in the body is mainly because of the cells. That's why the first important postulate of cell theory is cell is the structural unit of life. Smallest and structural unit of life. Cell is the functional unit of life. And the third important postulate here is that now all cells come from pre-existing cell. If a new cell has to be formed, because every cell has got a lifespan, in your body also, all cells are not formed together, all cells do not die together. Every cell has got a lifespan. Okay. For example, your bone, cells in your bone, they have a lifespan about 10 years. Okay. Your white blood cells, they have a lifespan of only 15 days. Red blood cells in your blood, they have a lifespan of 120 days, right? Every cell in your body has got a certain lifespan. Now, when the lifespan, that is the life of the cell ends, before that, what does it do? It will produce new cells. Okay, so how new cells are formed? If a new cell has to be formed, there should already be an existing cell. Without an existing cell, new cells cannot be formed. Understand? So these are the three important postulates of cell theory. Now, who proposed the cell theory? Matthias Leiden, Theodor Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow. Now, what are the three postulates of the cell theory? Cell is the smallest and structural unit of life. Cell is the functional unit of life. And all cells come from pre-existing cells. Okay. So these are the postulates of the cell theory. Now, classification of cells based on the number. Classification of the cells based on the number. Okay. Now, based on the number, how do we classify the cells? Now, organisms, when we talk about different organisms that are present on this planet today, right? Now, there are organisms, okay, which are single celled. One cell is one organism. So we call them as unicellular organism. Single celled organism. Okay. So classification of cells based on the number, we classify them as unicellular. Okay. Organisms which are unicellular, single celled organism. Organisms which are few celled, and then organisms which are multicellular. Multicellular. Now, one single cell is one organism. So the characteristic features which I told, initially when I told, all that features take place only in one single cell. Okay. So single celled organism. So which are the single celled organisms? Example is bacteria is a unicellular organism. Amoeba is a unicellular organism. Yeast is a unicellular organism. These are all single-celled organisms. Now coming to few-celled. Now when we say few-celled, an organism, it's not one single cell, but it is a few-celled organism. Okay. Now example of few-celled organism is you have some algae, which is called Spirogyra. It is like a filament. Okay. It is like a long thread-like structure, basically made up of a number of cells. This is called Spirogyra. It is a few-celled organism. There is another organism which is called as Olvox, which is a few-celled. And there are certain fungus molds like Penicillium, Aspergillus. They all come under few-celled organisms. Okay. Multicellular organisms. You cannot count the number of cells. Many cells, they become multicellular organisms. So you can say all invertebrates and all vertebrates come under multicellular organisms. So all you can say plants and animals, you can say come under multicellular organisms. Now let me just show you here classification of unicellular. Let me show you the images over here. Now this is bacteria. Okay. Now each one, this is a single cell. Okay. So this is bacteria. This is amoeba. And amoeba, doesn't have a definite shape, right? So when it needs to catch its prey, okay, its membrane, it forms finger-like projections. It stretches, it forms finger-like projections, which we call as a pseudopodia. Basically, it extends the pseudopodia to catch its prey for nutrition, right? So this is amoeba. This is unicellular organism again. Okay. Now this is Spirogyra. I told you it is like a filament, right? This is Spirogyra, and this is what you call as Olvox. So both these are algae. Okay. Both these are algae. So they come under few-celled organism, and plants and animals, they are multicellular organisms. Okay. Is this much clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, how small are the cells? Okay. Now, when we say which are the smallest? the smallest of the organisms in microorganisms, when you talk about, I told you, are viruses. But viruses are not completely living. Their cell structure is also different. Okay. In the later, once when I teach you the cell structure of organism, then I'll tell you how the virus is different there. Okay. So when you talk about the structure, now if you take bacterial structure and a human cell structure, there is similarities. But there is no similarity between a bacteria and a virus or a human cell and a virus. Okay, so virus is completely different. That's why we say they're somewhere between living and non-living entities. Okay, so we are leaving the viruses aside. The smallest known are the viruses, but leaving them aside, when we talk about living organisms over here, which is the smallest? Okay, the smallest amongst all organism is a kind of bacterium called mycoplasma. Children, please make a note of this. This can be asked. Which is the smallest known smallest cell amongst all organisms? Answer is mycoplasma. This is a bacterium. Mycoplasma is a bacterium. It is the smallest cell amongst all organisms. Okay. Now, if we take smallest cell in the human body, okay, in our body, which is the smallest cell, the smallest cell in the human body is the red blood cell. Okay. The red blood cells are the smallest cells in the human body. They are biconcave, disc-shaped structures here. Okay. So, smallest cell in the human body is the red blood cell. Then this one, mycoplasma. This is how the mycoplasma looks under the microscope.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, is mycoplasma bacteria?
yes, it is a kind of bacterium.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So, red blood cells are the smallest known, the smallest cells in our human body. Now, coming to the longest cells. Okay, the longest cells amongst all organisms, if you take higher organisms, when we take, are the neurons or the nerve cells. Longest. Okay, we are talking about which is very, very long. Now, if you take the giraffe, the nerve cell of a giraffe, okay, you might have seen the giraffe, the head is small, but it has a very long neck. The head of the neuron is present in the head of the giraffe, but the tail of the neuron extends along the neck down to the body. So we say the neuron is about 3 meters in, length. So longest, is the longest cell is a nerve cell of a giraffe, is considered amongst all organisms. The longest is the nerve cell. Largest cell, okay, not long here, largest cell. Now, egg is also, okay, is considered as a cell because it contains the yolk is supposed to be a fertilized egg, right? The largest cell is the egg of an ostrich, okay, amongst all organisms I'm talking about, okay. So, the egg of an ostrich is the largest cell, and in the human body, the female ovum, okay, the ovum in the female is also considered to be the largest cell. Otherwise, we talk about sperm is supposed to be the smallest. Our red blood cells and sperm are the smallest. Okay, largest is the ovum, but when we talk about other this one, so we said the nerve cell is either the largest or the longest. Okay. Now, is this much clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So, I think for teaching the next part, it will take more time, and the time is up, I think. So, I will stop here. I will be continuing this in my next class. We will start from why the cells are small. Why can't they be big and why they need to be small? There's a particular explanation for this. So, which I will be taking up in the next class. Yeah.
Ma'am,
So, yeah.
Ma'am, as you said at the starting of the class, as
Mm,
all cells are small but may differ in all cells are small. Like you gave an example of a rat cell and a
mm.
elephant cell.
Elephant cell. Mm,
Elephant cell. They both are the
mm,
same in size, but
mm,
are different in number. But
mm.
then here you are saying that nerve cells are the largest cells, but giraffe's neck nerve cell is the longest out of all nerve cells.
Yes.
Then that
Yeah. Longest. See, when we talk about longest, you see, the cells are different. You will come to, we'll learn a little bit later that the cells are there in different sizes also. Okay. And the size is, the size of a cell is pertaining to the size of the animal you can take. Now, when you talk about a neuron, right, the cell is divided into two parts over there. It has a head and it has a tail part. Understand? The
yes,
tail part is only for conveying the signal. It is there, but the entire thing is called as a cell. So function wise, even your muscle cells, for example, all the cells are not of the same size in your body. Understood? Even in your body, all the cells are not. Here we're talking, there is some cell which is small. There are some cells which are bigger, but they are bigger in such a way that they are still minute. They cannot be seen. See, for example, a journey, nerve cell of a giraffe is 3 meters. I told you long because an axon is that long. The axon is a part of that cell. But you still can't see the nerve cell under the naked eye, right? You can't see it through a naked eye.
yes,
Understand? Yes. So different cells in the body have different sizes. All are not of the same size, but generally they are small. So what I am explaining in the next class, why they need to be small, then you will understand better what I am trying to tell here. Okay. So
okay, ma'am.
next class, I will probably you will get to know the answer for your question yourself when I explain the next part.
Yes.
Okay. So any other questions, any other clarifications, dear students?
Excuse me, ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Why microscopes are like very costly as compared to, I mean, like compound microscope and electron microscope
See,
varying
compound
costly?
microscope is not expensive. Let me tell you this. Okay. Compound microscope is not expensive. Compound microscope, normally all colleges, for students and all, they use a compound microscope. Compound microscope is not very, very expensive. Yes, I think, in fact, you go to there are student microscopes also which are available, but the magnification will be less. Higher the magnification, right? Higher the magnification. See, if you take electron microscope is very, very expensive. One microscope probably costs somewhere between 5 to 10 lakhs it may cost. So only research institutes which are doing some research work and they need that instrument, only they procure them. Understand? But a simple compound microscope is not very expensive. They can use they use it. It may cost somewhere between 5 to 10,000. But in between a compound and an electron microscope, there are different kinds of microscopes. Fluorescent microscopes are there. There are different, varieties of microscopes are there, and each according to the kind of what you want to view under it. That all depends on that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And are volvox algae harmful or they are not?
No, no, no. No algae are harmful. Algae do not cause any diseases at all. Fungi cause diseases in man. So algae, basically, it is a green algae. You learn about it. There is something called Five Kingdom classification in the 9th standard, which you will learn about Olbox, Myrogyra, and all that you will learn over there. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Fine, thank you,
Excuse me,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
Any?
eggs also considered as a cell?
Yes. Egg is also, because what is an egg? It contains a fertilized zygote. The yolk of the cell is considered to be a fertilized egg, which is a fusion of the two gametes. It is one which will give birth, right? The life begins as a single cell. When we say life begins as a single cell, there is a fusion of the two gametes. A little bit later, you will learn about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, is the largest cell in the like the longest cell in the human body also a nerve cell?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Because I told you, giraffe, the cell is about 3 meters. For us also, the cell from, you have the neurons present in the brain and in the spinal cord. From there, you have the axons, the tail. They run up to the fingertips or to the toes, so from the head going up to it, it's one single cell, right? So it is the longest cell.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other doubts, children?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So can we wind up the class for today?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So probably hope to see you in the offline classes. Thank you, children. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.